Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. I'm excited. You know, I love the arts. I love to support the arts. The whole audience loves the arts. And today we're going to talk about Lilies by Michel Marc Bouchard. God, I hope I got that right. I am with Joseph Walsh, Joseph C. Walsh, Nicolas or Nico Quirino, and Carlos Rene Diaz. They are all part of the production. We're excited to learn more about everything that's going on with Lilies. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. How are you today?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having us.
Good.
I'm very
Thank you.
excited to have you. You know, if you watch the show at all, you know we love the arts. There's so many things that go on in our community that I feel like I don't even know about. So, Joseph, thank you for reaching out. Anytime you all want to be on the show, we would love to highlight it. But before we get into Lilies and we get into the production, we get into the time, which is this week, y'all. So you got to pay attention. You can look at all of the websites scrolling across the bottom. And of course, you can reach out to me if you want to get tickets. We do introductions here. We love to learn the 411 behind the people here, a little bit more about them before we take a deep dive into learning about the show itself. So we're going to start with you first, Joseph. Tell them a little bit about you. Kind of, were you always in musical theater? Were you always in theater? Were you always in the arts? Give us a little background on you.
Great. Hello, everybody. I'm Joe or Joseph. I'm originally from Lynn, Massachusetts, up in the Northeast. And a fun fact that people like to hear, I think something a little bit different about me, is that I was actually a figure skater for the first part of my career in life. And I toured for 2 years with Disney on Ice, which was 20 some odd years ago was the last time I was kind of in Florida. We rehearsed in Lakeland. But the cast always laughs whenever I say that I had a previous life as a figure skater. And then, you know, from there, I went to Emerson College in Boston. And then I was lucky enough to go to the UK and I got my master's in directing at the University of London. And that sort of prompted a very unexpected but wonderful 15-year career of working and living in the UK, Ireland, and Germany. And so I had a great experience there. That's where Wild Oats Productions and Lilies first premiered. The first time that I worked on the show. And then I moved back to the US about 5 or 6 years ago. And I ended up down here in Orlando just over 3 years ago. So 3 years ago in June it was. So it's been a great time. And now we have this new project and this amazing cast of actors is here with us too. So that's sort of my beginning and origin story quickly till now.
I love it. We're going to have to find some video of you skating, and I'll have to play that at some point.
There's one very short clip on YouTube. It's almost impossible to find. There's just one.
All right. That's a challenge to the audience. If y'all find it, let me know and send it to me because I would love that. Thank you. I'm excited to learn more about the production, too. Before we do that, we have two other guests who are actors in Lilies. So we'll start first with you, Nico. Nico, tell us a little bit about you, kind of your origin story, point A to point B.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nico, or Nicholas. I was actually born in Brazil, and I moved here when I was about 12 years old. And ever since I moved here, I started doing theater, and I started to get integrated with theater. And I was a very shy kid. So I started doing theater to kind of help me with that. And I just sort of did that, and now I'm an actor, which I didn't expect when I was a kid. I never thought I would be on stage, but now it's what I like to do.
So what happens on stage for you is that a lot of actors are shy. A lot of actors are actually introverts. So when you get on stage, does you just let that all melt away and you kind of just get into the character? How does that work for someone who's shy to be on stage in front of all of those people?
To me, before I walk on stage, I am terrified. But as soon as I'm on stage, it all melts away and I'm fine. But like before, it's awful. But like when I'm in it, it's great.
You get the butterflies.
Yeah.
The butterflies. I think we all get a little nervous when we right before anything, any kind of talk or show or performance. Thank you for sharing that, Nico. I appreciate it. All right. Carlos Rene Diaz. Carlos, tell us a little bit about you, your point A to point B origin story.
Point A, musical theater in particular, I started singing when I was about 5 years old, when my mother used to drag my sister and I to karaoke bars with her. And of course, when you have a 5-year-old who's getting on stage and singing like 60s and 70s music in a room full of drunk adults, you are immediately, the center of attention. So I'd say I kind of caught like the performance bug then and there. As far as acting goes, it was very spur of the moment, just happened to happen at the right time. We were walking to Aldi's. We ended up stumbling upon some random building instead of Aldi's, and we walked into Chicago Studios, which was a talent agency. And being the 5-year-old charismatic child that never knew how to shut up, my sister and I both got signed on the spot. And so, starting off, it was film and television. So like, short bits, like features in movies like Fred Claus. And then when I moved to Florida is also when theater was introduced to me. In my middle school, I went to go see my sister's performance of Seussical in the 4th grade. And I was like, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And the rest was kind of history.
Isn't that amazing how I feel like actors know that people who are in performance art, any of the arts, they know earlier on than most people do. You have your rare story of somebody who discovers they want to act past the age of 18. But most of the time you've done some sort of theater, you've had a passion for it, or at least it's been something that entertains you. And so I love to hear those origin stories, and so does the audience, because it brings us to the play, it brings us to the show, it brings us to Lilies by Michel Marc Bouchard. So Joe, tell us about Lilies.
Well, I first discovered Lilies over 20 years ago. I was working in the public theater in New York as a literary intern. And one of my jobs was to go through scripts and to categorize them. And there was a reject pile. And I found this script called Lilies. And the previous year in college, we were doing Kiss of the Spider Woman. So we were all sort of obsessed with Brent Carver. And it was one of those kind of late nights in the dorm. Somebody pulled out this DVD of a movie starring Brent Carver called Lilies. And he played the mother. He played Valier's mother in the film. And so we all sort of sat there one night, watched it. And we kept watching it over and over again. We were fascinated by this arts odd film that we saw, but it was so beautiful and the performances were amazing. I had no idea it was a play. So I grabbed this script off the reject pile. It's green. Nico and Carlos have seen it because I still have it. It's the one I'm using for the production. They have copies of it. Part of it is cut off. Sometimes Carlos has said, "Can I get the book? Because it's so old, there's pages missing." But that's what we're working from now. And I said to one of the associate producers at the Public, I said, "This is on the reject pile. This is an amazing work." And he said, "Yeah, it's just not for us." So I took it home. I was staying on my sister's couch while I was an intern there. I sat in the corner of her apartment and I think I read it twice. And I just was transfixed. And I said, someday I'm going to produce this play. And so 15 years ago, Wild Oats Productions did the UK premiere of the show. 10 years later, we worked with Greenwich Theatre in Greenwich, UK, to do a small scale tour of it. We went from Greenwich to something called the Out in the Sticks Festival, to the Brighton Festival, to the Dublin Gay Theatre Festival, and then back to playing the main stage in Greenwich. And then when Ghostlight Theatricals started about 5 weeks ago, I was thinking, what show can we do? And I went back to Lilies. And I thought, it's time to revisit this piece. Let's see what it looks like today. Let's see how it feels today. I had a bunch of people read it because sometimes, things don't age well. And we look at it, it becomes something that for one reason or another, the lens is not appropriate for an audience in 2022. And to a person, everyone that I sent it to felt the same way that I did. They were fascinated by it. They couldn't get out of their minds. And they actually thought that today it's actually a really important story to keep telling. It is about a group of prisoners who are putting on a play in order to inspire the local bishop to a confession about some moments that happen in his past. And so they bring him into this prison, this room in this prison, and they tell the story of his youth. and of another person in the room who he also knows. So it's really fascinating. And I think right now, at its heart, Carlos and Nico both play young men in love. And at its heart, it's a love story. It looks at love, sexuality, gender, and religion in a very interesting way. And I think today, with where we are in Florida, with Don't Say Gay, I think it's really important to tell these stories. And I think it was really important to, we were going to revisit this piece, 15, 10, it's 10 years ago since there's been a room full of actors who have engaged in this work. It was really important to make sure that there was a different lens on the piece. And it's been really wonderful to hear all of the actors in the room and their take on the material and how they feel about the piece, what it means to them, and really the conversations it has inspired in the room. I think over the weekend, there was a moment where I walked out of the room and you could hear the sort of a cacophony of noise where the cast was just sharing space with each other, enjoying their time and telling stories which were inspired by events that happened in the play and getting to know each other. And I thought, well, there it is. We could actually stop now because that is one of those moments that you think, well, this makes it worthwhile. This is what makes it worth it. So I'm excited to see what an audience makes of it when we bring them into the room as well and ask for what the story says to them, what they take away from the story, and how it relates to their own lives, and what they take from it through their own lenses. I'm interested to see what that reaction is like.
Was it a difficult decision given the crazy world that we live in, especially here in Florida? Was there any risk involved? Did you feel like, gosh, maybe this isn't the right play? Or I'm hoping and I believe you were probably like, this is exactly what we need. This is exactly the kind of production that we need. This is the exact kind of storytelling that we need, given our current situation here.
I think the latter, and this company that was formed 5 weeks ago is called Ghostlight, and it is surrounding, hope, safety, and community. And I think that lens of telling this story and bringing people into the room, I think makes it the absolutely right choice, right play to do right now. And then I think at the first read through, we didn't get through the whole play because we stopped every episode and had a conversation. And I could hear the urgency in the actors' voices about the importance of telling the story, what it meant to them, generationally as well, sharing space with a room full of people who are crossing over all sorts of this sort of intersectionality of sexuality, race, gender, age, demographic in the room. And I felt that from day one. People were sharing their authentic selves. And I think more than once, someone in the room pointed out that this is a play of our time, and it probably is even more relevant now than 20 years ago, to tell the story, and especially with the diversity of lens in the room that we're currently telling it in.
Beautiful. All right. So how do they see it? Give us the 411 on how to get to it, how to get tickets, how to attend, how to get involved, how to learn more.
Great. Well, it's at Theater South Playhouse, and you can get tickets at Wild Oats Productions, which is www.wildoatsproductions.com. And then you click the Lilies. There's a little Lilies banner that you can click, and it will take you to Teach Tix to buy your tickets there. And it's been really great. We've been rehearsing at Theater South Playhouse. Again, when this all started, I was talking to Hillary Brooke, who runs it, and said, I'm looking for a space for Lilies. It's this really interesting play. And she said, why don't you come do it here? Let's add, do it in association with Theater South Playhouse. So it's been a real delight to be there and for her to welcome us all into her space and give us a place to do the show.
And when does it kick off? When is the opening night?
September 15th, which is Thursday, is our first performance, and it runs to September 24th. There's 8 performances.
Beautiful. All right. So wildoatsproductions.com. You can obviously reach out to me or Nico or Joseph or Carlos. We will get you to the site if you can't find it. Gentlemen, I'm so excited. I think this is such an important play to be putting on, an important message. I did just a teeny tiny bit of research. There's not a ton when you look out there. So it was actually a little bit hard for me to find, but what I did find, it was all accolades, and I could tell that the message was incredibly important. So thank you all for being on the show. Audience, you guys love the arts. Get involved. This is something new, something different to the TED Show. Give back. Find out what you can do. Attend. Support these artists who are giving their all to put on an amazing show. Thank you, gentlemen, for being on the show. Come back on anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And break a leg. Do we still say that? Break a leg? That is true. Every time I say it, I hesitate because I'm not sure if that's still the appropriate thing to say. But have an amazing opening night. I'm super excited for you guys. Thanks for being on the show. It's Lilies by Marc Bouchard. What did I miss in the middle? Michel Marc Bouchard.